For our next segment, let's turn it over to our colleague, Ryan Songalia.
If you followed Manny Pacquiao during his early years in America, the name Lenny DeJesus will automatically ring a bell. The New Yorker had been the cutman for Pacquiao for his fights with Marco Antonio Barrera, Juan Manuel Marquez, and Eric Morales. And it also worked with other Filipino boxers as well, including Jerry Peñalosa, Michael Fereñas, and Marvin Mabayat. DeJesus has decades of experience in the sport, working as a trainer and manager as well. It's a pleasure to catch up with the 76-year-old living legend. Ryan Songalia, round by round, here with Lenny DeJesus. First off, we're here in Atlantic City. Your latest fighter just scored a first-round knockout, Anthony DeMonte. Tell me, what is it that you like about Anthony?
He's a very well-educated fighter, and those are rare athletes in this time and this day. And he has a great potential to do great in boxing. Also, being that his heritage is Italian, and everybody loves him. When he comes in to fight, whether it be 4 rounds, 6 rounds, he brings all his people, and they come to cheer a great Italian fighter that he's going to be.
Mm-hmm. So Filipino fans will remember you from your work with Manny Pacquiao in his corner. Tell me, you were his cut man. You were the one who fixed the cut in the first Eric Morales fight, right? When he had that very nasty cut, and it really seemed to it was one of the worst cuts he'd ever had in his career. Can you tell me about that cut and trying to fix that and keep him, because you kept him in the fight through all 12 rounds. Can you tell me about working on that cut?
Well, the experience that I've had in being an all-around cornerman, I became a cutman because it was more in demand. And I was in boxing more as a cutman than a trainer, and I loved it. When I had the opportunity to work with Pacquiao, I showed my trade that night, and Pacquiao, instead of the fight being stopped, we went all 12 rounds, and he got 35 stitches on that cut, but we lasted the whole fight, which was very important for Pacquiao. Had he been stopped on that fight, not his credibility, but his stock would have gone down a little bit. Mm-hmm. So I kept that from happening.
So tell me about working with Manny Pacquiao. What are your favorite memories of working in his corner and just being around him?
When I first worked with Pacquiao, I felt that he was going to be a great fighter because he had what a lot of people want to have: power on both hands. And he was a great puncher, a great knockout artist at the weight class that he fought. He fought in various, 3 or 4 weight classes. And when he touched you, you really felt it. And that's what I love about Pacquiao. A great Filipino fighter, Manny Pacquiao.
When you first started working with him, and I believe that was when he first came to America, right? Like 2001 or so?
Yes.
Did you ever imagine that he would be a senator and then now he's going to run for president?
You know something? In boxing, you see a lot of things happening with athletes. But I never thought that Pacquiao was going to be a senator or a president. I wish him the best. He's a great human being. He helped his people, which that's the greatest thing an athlete could do, because he came from a poor neighborhood, poor growing up. And now that he has the wealth, he's helping his people.
You also worked with Roberto Duran, one of the greatest fighters of all time. Can you talk to me about just comparing the two, Manny Pacquiao and Roberto Duran? How are they similar? Are they very different? And what would your thoughts be if they ever fought?
The only thing I could say on that question as an answer, both of them were poor. And they came from, I would go as far and say, not insulting anybody, they came from the gutter. And they produced something that a lot of people love in fighters that come out from poverty, despair, and poorness and everything. And look what they both did. Manny Pacquiao became one of the greatest fighters in Manila, and Duran became one of the top Panamanian fighters in this country. So you got to give them both a great credit.
So if they were ever to have fought, who do you think would have came in on top?
You know, two street fighters, I would go as far as saying, like the old saying, pick 'em.
Another Filipino fighter that you worked with, Jerry Peñalosa. Tell me about like working with Jerry Peñalosa.
When I worked with Pendalosa, he had a great experience, but time took its toll on him. Had I had him earlier, I think he would have been a great fighter like Manny Pacquiao because he was a good, well-mannered, educated individual. And I love him very much. Pendalosa was great.
No, do you agree with Freddie Roach? Freddie Roach said that Jerry Peñalosa is the best skilled Filipino boxer of all time.
You know, I can't say that because I didn't see all his fights. I only saw the end of his career. You could say yes and you could say no because I didn't have that kind of experience that Freddie Roach had with him.
And lastly, I just want to ask you because you go way back in terms of some of the great fighters of all time. You were in the house when Flash Elorde, many consider the greatest Filipino boxer of all time, when he fought Carlos Ortiz. I believe he fought another one, I think Frankie Narvaez.
Frankie Narvaez, yes.
Yeah, it was a good friend of yours.
Yes.
Well, what are your memories of Flash Elorde fighting in the Garden?
You know, I was really surprised at that time in my life. Freddie Elorde, he brought a lot of his people into the United States to see him fight. And, you know, he was a great fighter, you know, and then I said, well, listen, that was Freddie Elorde's time. Now we have a Manny Pacquiao. Comparing, I think Pacquiao better. Not 100% better than Freddie Elorde. But Freddie Elorde had his time. He fought a great Puerto Rican guy, Carlos Ortiz, and it was a great fight.
Were you there when at the Flash Elorde and Frankie Narvaez riot?
Yes, I was there.
Tell me your first-hand experience.
Every Latin person there got mad when they gave a decision, you know, and Puerto Ricans are very fan crazy, I would go and say, out there people, and they made a riot and they broke the whole garden and they closed the garden for a whole year and they stopped boxing in the garden. Then they moved the garden from that area to where it is now on 34th Street and 9th Avenue.
Yes, 8th Avenue and 9th Avenue.
And they moved it from there, but that was a big hit on the garden, the old garden, which is a very good place.
How did you stay safe? Were there chairs flying, bottles? What was going on?
No. I had my people protecting me at that time. And Muhammad Ali had fought there in Fort Roy Jones, he fought there and he lost, and they gave it to Muhammad Ali, the first fight that Ali had in the United States.
Yes. Where he was hurt in the first round, they called it the Doug Jones. Yeah, Doug Jones, yes.
Doug Jones, yes.
Yeah.
And he lost and they gave it to Muhammad Ali. I was there also.
What was the best fight that you ever saw in the Garden?
You know, at that time, I'll be honest with you, I think everybody was good because in those days, everybody trained properly to give their all, and they got paid less than what they get paid today. And those were good fighters because they put their all in the line, no matter what. And I think every fighter that does his work, his homework, his training, his weight and class and everything, I think they're all great to me.